in dealing with COVID-19, and you realize that only 25% was spent directly on health, and that social relief and security issues created by COVID, all of that, 25%. Now, most of these funds then went to government programs like free SHS, LEAP, etc. 3.5% went to GIFMIS, government's accounting system. Free water and electricity supposedly cost us some $250 million. When you look at the different figures in there, more than 22 million Ghana cedis for water bought from private water distributors, which cannot be accounted for, you'd realize that there are serious problems in this country. Serious problems. We keep talking about going to the IMF, getting a bailout, and doing this and that. There is so much rot in our country that if we do not deal with, we can borrow 2 trillion, 10 trillion. It will all go down the drain. You know why? Because it's like a basket with holes in it, and pouring water or funds into that basket, everything will drain out. You'll pour the whole world, you'll pour the sea into that basket, and it will drain out. And that's exactly where we find ourselves. Anyway, I wait for when we'll be joined by our guest, and then we'll take it from there. Educationist, Country Director of the International Child Development Program, Joyce Larnyoh, who will be joining us shortly. In the meantime, let's see what we can do with some of the papers that we have here this morning. I'll start with the Daily Graphic. Ensuring success of debt exchange program. Engagement, cooperation, way to go. That's according to the Attorney General. I don't even know why the Attorney General has to say this, because you listen to some of the comments yesterday on Newsfile, Bright Simmons, Senyo Hosi, and others, and you ask yourself, what the heck is going on? How long did it take Jamaica to get their program? What sort of engagement went into that? How long did it take other countries to get their debt restructuring? And we want to use what? We want to use how many months? And we already think we can get a debt restructuring issue or a program. How does that work? I am asking. How does it work? And in other jurisdictions, it wasn't done like we're doing here. So what exactly do we mean to achieve with this hasty? It's almost as though a problem had been created, and guess what? Let's hastily work it out, no matter the pain to those involved. Look at that 77-year-old who says, listen, this is where I am diabetic, hypertensive, and so many things. You plug this hole, you're basically giving me a life sentence. Cocoa bills are now in default, so to speak, because whatever you're going to roll over on any such bill, you must, according to the tenets of, the finance sector and across the world, you must inform. You can't roll over my bills or bonds or whatever without my permission. Yet that's exactly what has happened. So where exactly are we right now? And what does this do to market confidence? Anyway, let me just welcome my guest before I go into the story from the Daily Graphic. Educationist, Country Director of International Child Development Program, Joyce Larnyoh, joins us. Madam Joyce, a very good morning to you. Madam Larnyoh.
Good morning, my brother.
It's a pleasure having you. I think this is my very first interaction with you, so Happy New Year to you as well.
Many, many, many happy returns.
Great. I just wanted to start off the conversation very quickly talking about two major issues. One, a story we did this morning in the news. Cocoa farmers, I'm sure you've heard, in Ohiampe Nika, near Samreboy in the Wasa-Memphis district of the Western region, are denying vehemently a report by Al Jazeera that they use their children as laborers on their farms. I know you're concerned about such issues, but the farmers are saying, no, that is not the case. We were tricked by the Al Jazeera reporters who rather coaxed us to bring our children to the farms as they claimed they wanted to put forth a holistic story. What do you make of that vis-a-vis what we've been seeing, hearing in our country on the Volta Lake and other places?
Thank you very much, my brother, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and good morning to your viewers. Issues around children and the child labor activities in the cocoa growing communities have been a thing living with us for a while. And those of us working within the areas have spoken and done a lot of advocacy against this child labor activity. But when you raise the issues, they tell you, oh, that's their mainstay. So probably they are mentoring their children into taking over when they are old and all manner of things. But look, these children are doing tedious and hazardous tasks, which is way far beyond their abilities. And that's where the child labor component kicks in. So you cannot actually agree with them in that manner, because the data that we have clearly indicates that children are being used in some of these farms rather than being in school and getting educated. So we want to drive the point home that even though Al Jazeera might have twigged or twisted the story in their favor, we really, really want to retrieve the point that this child labor activity is going on. And so we use this opportunity to speak that any activity of that nature that the children are not able to cope, weeding, carrying cocoa sacks, breaking pots, are actually against our labor laws and activities against children. And Ghana is a signatory to the UN conventions on the rights of the child, which includes activity as such. So in my view, we will have to still continue to drum home the point that, look, probably your child will not even like to become a farmer at the end of the day. And so he needs the opportunity to go to school and acquire certain skills to break that poverty cycle within the family. And so in my view, though the farmers are talking against this, the data here in Ghana is very clear that it's still happening to a large extent.
I get the point you're making, and we're all concerned, but when such journalism is used to paint people in a certain, put them in a certain picture, paint them with a certain paintbrush, I don't think it is all of these cocoa farmers who are engaging in child labor. So where do we draw the line?
Well, journalists would like to make their story strong. They would like to paint the picture that this is the fact, and so that is it. But, we will have to consider whatever it is that they are talking about, whether it is really the reality countrywide, or maybe a section of communities, cocoa growing communities. So even though the Al Jazeera journalists are trying to invest the idea that it's a nationwide activity, I think I want to agree that might not be the case, because a lot of development partners have been talking about this, working in these cocoa growing communities concerning issues on child labor. Child rights organizations like us are always on them talking. So to a large extent, I want to believe that even though that's what the journalists are saying, it is not
it's not the whole picture.
No, not at all. That's probably it's just a percentage. But we still want to talk about whether it's a percentage or the larger picture is still against the rights of the child, and we need to drum home the point so that our honorable cocoa farmers who are also contributing to our economy will appreciate and then let the children off the hook to encourage them to go to school rather than be on the farm with them.
Madam Larnyoh, just a quick one I also want you to look at, maybe in the next 2 minutes, so that by 5:45, 5:45, I beg your pardon, we can actually get into the papers. The Auditor General's report We've always complained time and again that it is somewhat belated, by which time certain infractions have been brought to bear, money taken, misappropriated. But the latest one, some figures we're getting from there show that, look, in terms of battling COVID-19, and mind you, we still have the COVID-19 levy. Still, you go anywhere, you do this, you do that, you're slapped with the levy. 2.5 billion plus some 21 billion Ghana cedis, okay? That's what it looks like when you put it into Ghana cedis. Was mobilized. Only 25% went into directly to health, social relief and security issues created by COVID. The rest of it, we expended elsewhere. Free SHS, LEAP, etc. That wasn't budgeted for. That wasn't what it was supposed to go into. People say, look at that sum of money. How much did we claim we spent on feeding? How much did we say we spent on providing water, electricity, and all of that? How many of us benefited from it? And maybe we wouldn't be in these dire economic straits if we had managed some of these resources well. What's your take?
Thank you, my brother. It's very, very hurting that time and time again, our bureaucrats, officers, misapply funds in that manner. Well, somebody was suggesting that the Public Account Committee should be given prosecuting powers so that they will be able to issue arrest of some of these public officials to be brought to book as to how funds are being dispersed. Can you imagine a whooping figure that was supposed to be meant for a particular activity is misused for other activities, yet we are still paying COVID levy? My brother, in my view, I think I buttress the point of the committee member suggesting prosecuting powers so that public officers will give proper account of whatever resources are given to them in the name of all of us, rather than doing things the way they want. And at the end of the day, we find serious gaps, embezzlement, misappropriation of funds, and we are not able to do everything. Every year, we have the Public Account Committee coming to meet, and the same issue keeps arising. What do? I will suggest these prosecuting powers be given to the Public Account Committee so that whoever is found foul of the law will be brought to book. And that will serve as a deterrent and a lesson to other officials that probably might be given the opportunity to hold the public purse and disburse in the manner as stated in the plan or in the budget.
Let's quickly get into the papers now. Ensuring success of debt exchange program, and I'm sure you have a take on this as well. That's the Daily Graphic. Engagement, cooperation, way to go. That's the Attorney General, and that's what most sides have been calling for. There's also Obecha Lamte interchange progressing steadily. You can see some photos of that. First ever tax appeals board constituted, and Lepoura Alhaj Jawula laid to rest in the United States. But let's start with that major story there. Banner headline on the front page of the Daily Graphic. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, has called for extensive engagement and cooperation from all stakeholders to make the domestic debt exchange program a success. In an exclusive interview with the Daily Graphic, the AG said the nation had reached a critical juncture and it required all to come on board to support the common cause of repositioning the country for a turnaround and for growth. Mr. Dame lauded the Ministry of Finance for stepping up its engagement with the bondholders and relative stakeholders, a situation he described as key to debunking false assertions and increasing confidence in the debt exchange program. Now, explaining the basis for his legal opinion on the DDEP, the AG said the bonds were contracts between the government and the bondholders, and therefore any variation of the terms by a party without the consent of the other party would constitute a breach of contract. I am not saying this. This is the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Godfred Yeboah-Dame. Again, Mr. Dame said the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018, that is Act 982, allowed the Minister of Finance to take measures to ensure fiscal discipline, but such measures per the law did not include a variation, alteration, or restructuring of bonds. Now here we find ourselves, we have roped in individual bondholders, some of them pensioner bondholders, and we've defaulted on our Eurobonds. That's a separate issue. Our cocoa bills, we've defaulted on that. You don't roll over a bill without anyone's consent. It's becoming a bit murky. What's your take on this situation?
Thank you, my brother. It's really, really sad that government is not considering our elderly citizens who have worked to put this country where it is, and that their sums, after hard years' work, should be put into an estate program that will affect them, their livelihoods, their health, and everything. Remember, government had engaged a variety, a number. I don't know how the engagement went. It started with the unions on pension funds, and they rejected it straight away. It went round and round and round. Now it has come to our senior citizens who have worked so hard to accumulate a bit of funds, take care of them even as they are on pension, and then support their families. And now they are going to be under this estate program for a number of years. I mean, clearly you are signing their death warrant, which is unacceptable. Pensions or whatever debt exchange, government should be ready to engage key stakeholders for mutual understanding so that nobody will be left wanting. But here we are. When this is tackled, it doesn't work, we go to the next group of persons. And the other, until it got to this point where literally our elderly who have put their money into investments are crying. There was this case, like you mentioned, where the man said he was going to be at the bank till he got his money.
Yeah, the 77-year-old.
Yes, 77-year-old going to bank, sitting there, watching people going and coming without anybody telling him that, oh, brother, we are on it, and that very soon you will have your money. But he's just there, disillusioned. It's heart-wrenching. And if it were to be my father, in fact, I would have really, really, really felt sad and maybe found some way out for him. So I believe we should attach a bit of heart feeling to some of these meetings or these strategies so that people will agree. There will be mutual agreement that, okay, this is what you are doing. But at this time around, I'm expecting to get so much to be able to take it up for myself and my family. But you are talking about 8 years, 10 years before your interest or whatever is paid. Government should come to the table and engage with anybody who is being rolled on onto this debt estate program for mutual understanding, mutual respect, for people to be comfortable with whatever is being rolling out. Remember, we will have to also speak and talk about issues concerning our economy. I'm not an economist, though. So that if the government is going in a tangent that will affect all of us, we need to raise our arms in the air and talk about it and draw the attention to it. Now, all of us are suffering. It is being attributed to COVID or Ukraine. But I'm afraid Ukraine and everything that is happening wasn't part of my savings when I started working 35, 40 years ago. So I will plead with the authorities, the government, the officials, to really come into terms with mutual agreements that will inure to the benefit of our pensioners or our bondholders and that of the government, so that they will find reprieve.
And you know something, the way we are practicing it here, the way we are trying to go around our debt exchange. Look, you go to Jamaica and it took what? Like quite a bit of time. Some of them took about 30 months, 18 months and the rest across the world to have a debt restructuring program. We're trying to do this in what? Some 6 months, thereabouts, even less. And that's what some people find problematic. There's also the bit about, like you mentioned, about 10 years. In fact, my own senior brother, Joe Jackson, put out some information, and indeed, it works out. You know, we're told there would be no haircut. Then now there is a haircut. And then your principal will not face any haircut. According to him, when you look at this infographic that he's put out, and good morning to you, Uncle Joe Jackson, he is with Daylex Finance, you would see that bonds maturing in 2023 will receive their first principal repayment of 15% in 2027, final payment of 14% in 2023. And he says spreading the principal over 10 years is a haircut. So even your principal, so to speak, is under threat. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, like you are saying, because initially, the sector of the economy spoke about this haircut, and we thought it was a joke. And government came out clearly that there wouldn't be any haircut. We heard it loud and clear. And now, here we are with the situation where there's going to be haircuts all around us, even the hair on our skin. Please, government, let's try to be truthful to we the citizenry. I think sometime during the inauguration of our President, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, he made certain commitments and statements about being participants and not spectators. So if it gets to a point where we are trying to be participants, I mean,
to be citizens, in fact.
Hearing, yes, should be given to audience, should be given to us, rather than brushing the whole thing through as if we do not matter in the situation, in the equation, in the discussion, and that whatever it is that they are deciding on will be loaded over us. I beg to differ that there should be some form of serious engagement with mutual and clear understandings, because you are talking about people's money. This is not government's money. And life on the line. People's life are on the line. People go to hospital every month, medication, 2,000, 3,000, with all our community economic crisis. Medication that used to cost 500 is now 1,000. The one that cost 1,000, 2,000. Where are they going to raise the money?
That's the question.
So I would I will plead with government to please consider those of us who put them there, that we matter in these discussions, and that whatever it is, they should come back to the table and engage. The Attorney General has made emphasis to that. I'm sure they have listened. So we hope that something will come out of this, rather than the stressful situation that some of our bondholders are going through. Even the thought of it can put you into another health risk. Just the thought of it.
Just the thought of it. I mean, one of the most basic ones, it could impact your blood pressure and get you, worrying, anxious all the time. It also, and I want us to wrap on this and move on, but I also got reminded because I watched one of our shows right here on Joy News where a man came here and spoke about how he had felt, look, this is the safest way of protecting your money, buying government bonds. So he had done that and used other people's money. These are people with disability, invested their money. Some of them are in school, some are doing this or that, hoping that when the returns come, we'll always use it to secure them. Now the returns aren't going to come. How are they going to survive? So the dynamics are many. And maybe this quote by Isidore Isaac Rabi, a Galician-born American physicist, it's actually in today's Daily Graphic. They always put a quote there. It's on page 17. Yeah. Maybe our leaders ought to contemplate this quote. It says, most new insights come only after a superabundant accumulation of facts have removed the blindness which prevented us from seeing what later comes to be regarded as obvious. It's like those who felt the world was flat at a point, and then others coming to say, no, it's spherical and all of that. Until that was proven, some people were even killed for that. So I feel that government ought to listen to this quote and maybe do a lot more accumulation of facts to remove whatever blindness may be preventing them from seeing what may be obvious to all of us. But let's wrap up with this. The country's first ever independence tax appeal board has been inaugurated, which with a call on the members to ensure speedy adjudication, accuracy, and fairness in tax dispute resolution and transform the country's domestic revenue mobilization efforts. That story on page 16. It's interesting for me, especially because we are constantly complaining about not raking in enough taxes, but other people would also ask you, what do we do with the taxes? Any quick response there?
Yeah, I absolutely think we should consider tax as the mainstay to be able to rake in some revenue for the government. There are lots of Ghanaians, lots. Where I live, for example, I always keep asking, who will be the next person to come and collect my property tax? The roads are bad. I don't have water. Who is coming? I have lived in this house for 2 years now and no sign of any tax. I've paid a tax, a number of taxes when I was not in this country. And I have come and tax that will help develop my community. I do not even see the key people giving me maybe a letter or coming around to say, look, you have to pay your property rate. You have to pay this. You have to pay that. So I think tax is a key component of national development. That if we do not consider collecting the necessary tax, we will get nowhere. Somebody was saying somewhere that, look, it's high time churches start paying tax. I don't want to go there. I'm not a politician, but I think it's something worth considering. That all the MMDAs and the districts will come around and map out churches to be able to receive some tax, because whatever we are giving are all monies that are being blessed to us by God. And we say, okay, let's pay the 10th of it. So the 10th of it, the church as an institution, what are we doing? The market women all over the place, establishing market everywhere, the little space market. Are we able to collect the taxes and report, or rather, we collect the tax and it's being siphoned into something else? There's a lot of misappropriation in terms of tax collection in this country, where they take the taxes and then it's either going to somebody's pocket or it's doing something. But if we do not collect tax, we are going nowhere. Ghana is endowed with a lot of resources other countries do not have. They leverage their taxes to develop their country. And their countries are doing very well. What about Ghana? The tax net. We are always saying spread the tax net. We are spreading the tax net. So where are the taxes? Where are they going? Where are the roads? If people see concrete development in their communities, they will run and give out whatever it is to give in terms of revenue mobilization to develop the economy. So it's a whole gamut of challenges within the tax sector, and I think the experts should come in and help us map out whatever it is we need to be able to take the taxes for national development.
Let's get to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Just two stories I want us to look at. The third is just an add-on. So page 3, killer of Cape Coast dancehall artiste to die by hanging. Why am I interested in this? Because for me, it's been a long time since I saw the capital punishment law triggered, where someone is actually to die by hanging. Bright Ellis, a 27-year-old who murdered a Cape Coast dancehall artiste, Emmanuel Akins, known in the music industry as Unruly Grant, has been sentenced to death by hanging by Cape Coast High Court A. Emmanuel Lodo, the presiding judge, gave judgment on the case that lasted for more than 2 years. And Mr. Vincent Nyineku represented the Attorney General in the case. The murder of the artiste followed a misunderstanding that ensued between him and the convict Ellis at the famous Orange Beach Resort near the Cape Coast Castle in February 2021. This also reminds me of that Benjilo case from way back. And the other story, child rights AG clash at Supreme Court. This one as well, I saved for you. A non-governmental organization, Child Rights International, and the Attorney General have filed 7 legal issues for determination before the Supreme Court in a suit in which the former wants the court to declare as unconstitutional the plight of street children, our street urchins. Led by its executive director, Bright Appiah, it is the case of CRI that the 1992 Constitution protects children, and therefore by allowing children to fall victim to streetism, the government was violating the children's constitutional right to education, health, human dignity, and denying them their social and economic rights. Mind you, though, we have some of them, though we've been taking some of them back, coming in from the Nigers and all other parts of, the West African sub-region. The final bit for you to reflect on. So we have death by hanging, capital punishment. We have child rights on street children. I will not read the story, but it says, "Hold to host 2023 Independence Day celebration." And for me, I have said, and I've called on the president, if I were president, I would scrap the Independence Day celebrations. For now, what exactly are we celebrating? We're in dire straits. We're on the ropes. In Tanzania, Magufuli, while he was alive, canceled it twice. They made savings. One was used to build a road. The other, I'm not so sure, so I'll not go there. Recently, their president did it again. They saved almost, $500,000 or euros, and they're going to use that for schools to build dormitories. After the pomp and the pageantry, we are 65 and all of that, we've celebrated. Then what? We just create chop opportunities for different people, and the meager resources we have, we keep expending. Your take, Madam Larnyoh.
Thank you very much, my brother. The first point I would like to talk about is the death penalty. I've been around for a while now. People have been sentenced to death, but I've never seen people actually being hanged or executed through the death penalty. And if you ask me, civil rights organizations on human rights organizations will come at you when it comes to the death penalty, because you are not supposed to take anybody's life. So I will suggest that the best punishment to allow such a person to linger in the prison cells, even though we will be feeding him and taking care of his medicals and all that. For his rights to be restricted is also an issue of psychological pain, and not knowing when you will be even executed or being released is also another torture on them. So if you ask my view, I will not subscribe to the death penalty, no matter what.
Right.
But then the thought that he's going to be there awaiting his death is enough of a punishment for him or her to turn to a new leaf. And indeed, it gets to a point where the president issues certain pardons, and if you are fortunate and you are being seen of somebody with good behavior,
right,
then probably you'll be released. So I will not subscribe to the death penalty in any way at all. And looking at the child rights and the citizen, education is a fundamental human right, and every parent should understand this and send their children to school. It is not for them to bring children to the streets from morning till evening, not talking about the risk, not looking about the dangers these children are faced, just to make money for parents. And indeed, they are not even Ghanaians. Our laws must work. Our laws.
Well, some are Ghanaian. Some are Ghanaian.
A majority of them, same face, same head structure and everything. Majority of them are not Ghanaians. And even the Ghanaians amongst them, they should be taken off the street no matter what to get them into schools.
So in simple terms, you agree with Child Rights International on this. We have just about a minute left. That's why you agree with them.
Absolutely, we are all in the same advocacy terrain.
But the question is, we don't have the social structures, not even social welfare. I think it was recently one of my guests was mentioning to me that it just beats my mind. But if memory serves, each of the regions is getting about 20-something thousand cedis, to conduct its affairs. Can you imagine that? Social welfare.
Yeah.
Each of the regions getting about 20-something thousand. What can they do with that? Nothing.
That's the dilemma we find ourselves in. But it doesn't give anybody the right to send your child to the streets to beg for you to survive. At that stage, what it behoves on the parent to do for the child is send the child to school. And period. If they appreciate that, sending your child to school will break that poverty you are in, they will not be
So should we crack the whip more on these people we find on the streets? Because then aren't we going to be victimizing the children as well if we punish the parents? But on the other bit, most importantly, if your child is not in school, I mean, there are laws governing that. But if you're found for your child not to be in school, should we crack the whip even harder on such parents so that no one wants to do that?
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
Right. Harder. Let's quickly look at, so Independence Day celebrations. I've shared my thoughts with you. What do you think? I think we should scrap it and use the money for something more beneficial to the state. Because in the end, look, I'm saying that some people will not like it. It just ends up in chop chop. Your thoughts?
I agree with you absolutely. Chop 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 chop. Currently, whole stadium is being refurbished or put up quick for this celebration. And after the celebration, what next? Ghanaians are not property enough. We are not. How do you call it? We are not actually accepting the fact to become patriotic citizens. That's the word I want to use. And then making ourselves available for national development. We do these flamboyant celebrations. You know, children are stressed, marching in the sun and all those things. After that, what next? Nothing. So I agree with you that it should be scrapped and the resources used for other areas of the economy. Places that do not have water. Water is life. It should be provided. They should be provided with water. Places that do not have electricity, roads, they are there plenty in Accra. Rather than spending these huge sums for others to maybe benefit, I am not too sure of this. And then at the end of the day, we are back to zero. Right. So I want to agree with you that it should be scrapped. I'm of the same view as you, my brother.
Thank you so much, Madam Larnyoh, for joining us this morning. It's been really refreshing catching up with you, and I wish you the best of the day.
Thank you very much, and it's always my pleasure. Thank you.
And that is Educationist and Country Director of International Child Development Program, Joyce Larnyoh, who joined us for the conversation. Just some headlines before I leave you. Government cuts spending to bone. That's according to Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, but others have taken him on, even in terms of what the ministries are going to be spending. And in terms of the fact that we're having such a huge budget deficit this year. Economy Times, inflation to surge further, but there's also Ghana's economy expanded by 3.6% in 2022. That is according to the African Development Bank. Thank you for staying. Up next, we're going to serve you sports. And of course, yesterday we willed it, but it did not happen. Arsenal, the Gunners, just went past Manchester United. We scored first through Marcus Rashford, 17th minute, but they beat us by 3-2. That and more local action coming up right here on the AM show. Do stay.